What better time to look back and reminisce on old Assassin's Creed games than during the release of AC Shadows? It got me thinking, were the older ones actually that good? Welcome, Assassins, to another episode of I Finally Played, the series where I finally play classic games for the first time and give you my first impressions and thoughts as a modern gamer. Today we'll be covering Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and I will be asking the question, was it worth the wait? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, sub, and comment down below what games you would like to see me play next. So grab your hidden blades and robes, because today I finally played Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Right from the start, I'm shown a glowing godlike figure. What the hell is going on, I think to myself. Turns out, we're in the Vatican. Okay, it's coming back to me now. Oh no, this does not feel good, I say to myself, fumbling with the keyboard and mouse before quickly switching to controller. A cutscene then begins, and we're confronted with the papal staff right where AC2 left off. Soon after, Ezio is greeted by his Uncle Mario, urgently telling us it's time to leave.
It's me, Mario!
Uncle Mario?
Somehow, we end up in the Sistine Chapel and are quickly met by angry priests, scolding Ezio and Mario for desecrating such a sacred place.
God will see you pay for your crimes!
You have desecrated the sanctity of this holy place!
You condemn what you do not understand.
As gameplay resumes, the game displays a fascinating historical tidbit about the Sistine Chapel, highlighting that at this point in history, Michelangelo's famous depiction of God and Adam hadn't even been painted yet. My attention is drawn upward to the painting depicting Jesus handing the keys to St. Peter, referencing Matthew 16:18, symbolizing Peter's role as the head of the church and the first pope. Nostalgia hits me hard as memories from AC2 flood back. Moments like this are exactly what made these games unforgettable, I thought, and this is just the opening sequence. Stepping outside, I'm greeted by a group of cardinals praying inside the impressive St. Peter's Basilica. Once again, I'm immersed in the incredible architectural details surrounding me. Finally, we get into some actual gameplay, and after 3 misguided air humps, I desync and restart. I try again, increasingly frustrated by the awkward controls. The game's outdated control scheme, combined with its lack of clear button prompts for PS controllers, certainly didn't help me. It genuinely looks like I'm having an aneurysm. After some struggle, I eventually get the hang of it and quickly begin cheesing the game. I'm starting to recall how brain-dead easy the combat was in these games. Just hold guard, spam counter, and effortlessly one-shot every enemy. Combat was never Assassin's Creed's strong suit. After dissipating the guards, we follow Mario to the top of the tower overlooking Rome. This is the first glimpse we see of Rome, and the ability to run and parkour through the city. I'm already loving the vibe and aesthetic I'm getting around me. Ezio hands Mario the Apple of Eden, both leap off the tower, and we are welcomed by the title sequence. So far so good, I thought to myself. I'm excited to finally continue Ezio's story and experience the Eternal City. Originally planned to be DLC to Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood later evolved into a full-fledged sequel featuring an expanded open-world Rome and introducing new mechanics such as the Assassin's Brotherhood recruitment system, chain attacks, and the series' first ever multiplayer mode. Unfortunately, due to the servers being down, I was not able to play the multiplayer mode, but I have played it before around the game's release, and it was a fun, unique mode that we don't see devs take chances on anymore. Brotherhood went on to become one of Ubisoft's best-selling games and released to critical acclaim, cementing as one of the greatest games ever made. Growing up, I thought Assassin's Creed was a cool series. However, the only one I ever beat was the second one, leaving the series to dry after. I do, however, have fond memories of the second game. Being the son of 2 Italian immigrants to America, I would always play AC2 in the living room as they watched. My mom always thought it was funny when the characters cuss in Italian.
Pezzo di merda! Vorrei solo che avessi sofferto di più! Hai avuto la fine che meritavi! Spero che
Now going into Brotherhood about 15 years later, holy shit, I'm 30 years old. I'm excited to jump back into the beautiful world of Renaissance Italy, and this time in my favorite city, Rome. To say I was lost with the story jumping back into Brotherhood after all these years is an understatement. However, the more I played through Brotherhood, the more I began to appreciate the story, surprised at the amount of depth it had. AC Brotherhood continues the story of Ezio Auditore, an assassin on a mission to avenge his family, restore freedom to Rome, and put an end to Templar and Borgia family influence. Taking place directly after the events of AC2, and at the height of Renaissance Rome in the early 16th century, Pope Alexander VI, aka Rodrigo Borgia, has escaped the Vatican, and the vault underneath has been entered by Ezio. As I was recapping the ending of AC2, it hit me with how memorable it was. I don't remember much, if anything at all, about AC2, but fighting the Pope? How can you forget something like that? He discovers a holographic figure named Minerva, one of the ancient beings known as the First Civilization. She speaks through Ezio to Desmond, explaining that humanity faces a catastrophic solar event threatening the world. Enter Brotherhood. After Ezio returns to Monteregione from the vault with his newfound knowledge, the villa is suddenly attacked by the Borgia family, and Uncle Mario is killed by Cesare Borgia, the son of Rodrigo, right in front of Ezio's eyes. Just barely surviving the attack, Ezio journeys to Rome to get revenge and end the Borgia family once and for all. In the present-day storyline, Desmond is on a mission to find the Apple of Eden, and relives Ezio's memories to locate the apple. He is shadowed by Lucy, Sean, and Rebecca, members of the modern-day assassins. They all flee the Abstergo agents and set up a temporary hideout at the Auditore family's villa at Monteregione. Ezio lands in Rome, and his first plan of action is to meet up with Niccolò Machiavelli. Interacting with real historical figures like Machiavelli was a joy for me. The creativity and originality this series had was unlike no other. So having to retrieve and deliver a letter to Machiavelli for the next mission, we come across one of my favorite parts of the game. Ezio quickly becomes surrounded by a gang of men in wolf outfits. Startled, I was caught off guard. After killing them, we learn that they are a pagan cult named the Followers of Romulus. The cult worshipped the founder of Rome, Romulus, who was found and saved by a wolf as a baby. I love this subplot within the story. This is where I started to get really immersed into the game, as I was still a little bored at this point. After killing the followers, Ezio enters their lair, leading him underground. Falling into the ancient hall, I'm immediately filled with excitement as I learn that this was Emperor Nero's Golden Palace. Nero is one of, if not the most infamously known Roman emperors due to his tyrannical rule and persecution against Christians at the time. This is why I play this, I thought. This is why these games are special. I stop and stare to appreciate the old art on the wall, observing how the Romans looked at the time. My imagination begins to run wild as I progress through the palace, thinking of all the scenarios and events that took place within these walls 2,000 years ago. After passing some obstacles, I enter a room with the fire pit. I was not expecting to see this down here, I thought. Crossing the fire pit to my own demise, I accidentally jumped straight into it as if it were an allegory for going to hell because of my shitty gaming skills. We arrive at the shrine, where the followers worship a statue of Romulus. Finally, I parkour into their room of treasure and we obtain Romulus's armor, and a scroll he left behind saying, "He who finds it will receive strength in battle." This was so cool, and led to other side missions involving the cult and having to explore more layers throughout the game. I do wish, however, the main story had more missions like this, involving more famous ancient Roman emperors. One drawback I did have with this game were the bad facial graphics and animations. It would take me out of the experience sometimes, but what the faces lacked, the voices redeemed. The voice acting in this game is superb, especially Bartolomeo, being one of my favorite characters in the game.
I'll kill you for tutto francese!
After obtaining the key needed to infiltrate Castel di Sant'Angelo and confront Rodrigo and Cesare Borgia, Ezio witnesses Cesare killing his own father, Rodrigo, in a ruthless act of ambition.
I want you to die! You die! Ah! Where is the piece of Eden? Stop!
From Lucrezia Borgia, Ezio learns the Apple of Eden's location and races to St. Peter's Basilica, determined to seize it before Cesare can. Ezio succeeds, using the apple to destroy Cesare's army, paving the way for Cesare's arrest by Fabio Orsini. Defiant, Cesare proclaims he'll soon break free from the captivity. Concerned by this threat, Ezio uses the apple to confirm Cesare's words. 3 years later, after Cesare escapes imprisonment, Ezio tracks him down to the city of Viana, Spain. After a fierce battle, Ezio finally defeats and kills Cesare once and for all. The final memory reveals Ezio safely locking away the Apple of Eden, hiding it in a vault under the Santa Maria Aracioeli Basilica. Desmond emerges from the Animus as the assassins decide to head to the vault and retrieve the apple. Arriving at the Santa Maria Aracioeli, the team are welcomed by an absolutely gorgeous church, surrounded by beautiful paintings and icons, with Gregorian chants playing in the background. Desmond then sees a memory of Ezio free running through the church and follows him, leading to the entrance of the chamber with the apple on a raised platform awaiting Desmond. Once Desmond finally picks up the apple, time stops and is controlled by the being Juno. She forces him to draw his hidden blade and stab Lucy in the abdomen, concluding the story to a credits roll. Overall, I thought the story was okay. Granted, this was a game released between 2 and Revelations, so a cliffhanger and underwhelming story was bound to happen as it is a bridge between those 2 games. It was a typical revenge story, however the overall plot of Desmond's saga made everything much more interesting. Desmond stabbing Lucy in the end definitely made me roll my eyes, however. I had a real love-hate relationship with the gameplay in this game. In the beginning, I loved parkouring, running through the city, and stealthily assassinating enemies. Later on in the game, however, I did feel differently. I'm not going to go into too much detail about most of the weapons, as there are about 36 in total. However, my favorite was the hammer for its hilarious bonking. Like any good Assassin's Creed game, the highlight here is definitely the parkouring. Seamlessly leaping across rooftops, climbing historic landmarks, and simply exploring Rome on foot was consistently fun and immersive. Assassinating guards from high ledges with my dual hidden blades never got old either. However, the parkour wasn't without frustration. Misjumps and unintentional leaps were frequent enough to become annoying, occasionally leading to some ridiculous deaths. This forced me to slow down and carefully plan my moves rather than running wildly across rooftops like a hyena. And perhaps this is a nitpick, I noticed a slight input delay, which made precise movement feel slightly less responsive than I'd prefer. As someone sensitive to controls, this impacted my enjoyment and led to janky, unfun moments. Onto the combat, I don't remember a combat system having this much cheese in a while. The swordplay is shamefully easy as you just hold guard, spam the counter button, landing every single time and instantly one-shotting enemies. Not only that, but you can maintain chain attacks after countering, further trivializing the gameplay. I've heard the argument that this ties into Ezio's lore and as he's more experienced assassin at this point in the series. However, I do think that's a cop-out and that's just lazy game design. I understand that I don't have to play this way and I can utilize my full kit for a more dynamic experience, which I did. However, I should at least get punished for simply waiting for a counter and going God mode with chain attacks every time. Brotherhood also introduces horse riding in the city. However, this felt pretty janky to me and didn't make much sense as you still don't have enough room to properly ride through half of the city, as I would constantly stampede people and run out of space. It just felt out of place and forced. Outside the city, however, is essentially a small open world countryside that gives you free will to ride wherever you please, which felt nice. Running through the Roman countryside with a Colosseum in the distance was a breathtaking sight, frequently causing me to stop and take it all in. A highly underrated feature in the game was the database entries of summaries explaining the monuments and points of interest scattered throughout Rome. I can't tell you how many times I would stop and read what new gorgeous landmark I just discovered. As someone who's been to Rome multiple times and a lover of its history, this was an absolute treat to revisit these sites I've been to real life, and even learn more about new ones. The big new gameplay feature introduced in Brotherhood is the assassin recruitment system. At the blow of a whistle, Ezio is able to call on his assassins on demand to kill his intended targets for him. The more assassins you recruit, the more lethal you become. This led to some really cool moments and greatly improved the combat for me. Through the guild menu, you are able to send your assassins on contracted missions to gain experience and level up all across Europe. I thought this was a neat little touch they added to the game. However, by chapter 7 of the game, I was getting sick of the combat and wall climbing. It seemed like the more I played, the more janky and annoyed everything felt to me. Whereas in the beginning, I was really enjoying myself. I was beginning to dread the constant combat towards the end of the game, and the amount of guards guarding the Borgia towers were unbearable. Now that leads me to the absolute cancer of this game. The tailing missions. These missions were honestly some of the most unfun and frustrating moments I've had in recent memory playing games. Not only do they take forever, but you have to also be undetected the whole way through, and you must restart if you go detected. I'm not proud to say my blood was legit boiling for many parts of this game towards the end, and I never get that upset over a game. Brotherhood features one large and semi-open area of Rome. Rather than multiple cities like previous titles, featuring the city, the countryside, and all the historic landmarks we all know and love that Rome has to offer. In contrast to this, the game also offers linear underground and secret areas such as the catacombs and layers beneath Rome, giving a greater sense of level variety to the player while still maintaining the open world above. As someone who typically dislikes open world games because they're often too large and filled with empty space, I found Ubisoft delivered the perfect map size here. The countryside areas provide just enough openness to capture that genuine sense of freedom and exploration. The city districts are alive and bustling, from priests preaching the word of God to pedestrians getting attacked and abused. There's never a dull moment within the city. The city is also beautifully designed for the parkour system in the game. Everything is mostly close together to maintain the flow of dashing across rooftops and climbing up walls, while still maintaining the cohesive feel and design of the city, never breaking my immersion. Ubisoft also brilliantly implemented Rome's historic landmarks seamlessly into the level and mission design. One of the most memorable missions in the game for me was infiltrating the Pantheon by climbing to the roof and entering through its oculus at the top of the dome, then dropping down and killing an unaware guard from the top. It doesn't get more Assassin's Creed than that. The art direction is also top-notch. As someone who has family in Rome and has been there multiple times throughout my life, Ubisoft absolutely nailed the look and feel of the Eternal City. From the landmarks, the vistas, the fragmented marble and stone structures worn down by centuries of weathering and abuse, I was immersed in the game the whole way through. Not only that, but the map is also very dynamic, especially due to the Borgia Tower mechanic. After destroying a Borgia Tower, the vibe completely changes of the area. The Borgia influence is gone, the people are happier, and you're able to construct shops around the area, giving you the sense that you're actually rebuilding Rome and ending the influence of the Borgia oppression. I experienced every emotion possible playing through Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Awe, frustration, excitement, and occasionally borderline rage. The beautiful setting of Renaissance Rome, filled with all its charm, still makes Brotherhood shine bright, even if the game is somewhat janky and rough around the edges. Even with the frustrating tailing missions and trivialized combat, I have to be objective and not ignore the overall charm this game has. That's not seen much today. Was it worth the wait for me, however? Personally, no. Reflecting back on my playthrough, I didn't have as much fun as I thought I would have. The setting, story, and characters are what pushed me through the game. That's not to say I wouldn't recommend it to newcomers, as long as they know that some of the aspects of the game haven't aged well and could potentially deter their experience. The setting, characters, and story alone are worth playing through. It's a product of its time, however. Rough around the edges, occasionally frustrating, but at its core, it still has a charm, depth, and style that define early Assassin's Creed games. In the end, Brotherhood reminded me why these older games hold a special place in gaming history. I just wish I had a little more fun playing it. So what do you guys think? Did the game hold up for you? Let me know in the comments below and let me know what type of games you'd like to see me play next. Thanks for watching, guys. Like and sub if you enjoy the content, as there's much more to come. Also check out my first time playing God of War video here. Till next time, guys. Peace.